We may convene here in Disney, but that doesn't mean we live in a fantasy land. We can see what's happening up close and personal to our members. At Hawker Beechcraft, at the Boeing Company, at Northwest Airlines, and 3,000 other businesses across this continent. We know when Katie Couric and Brian Williams sugarcoat the news. We know when Maria Bartolomeo and Jim Cramer flack for the Ponzi schemers. They cannot hide from us this truth. Corporate America and its allies in the White House have triggered a deep and a prolonged recession. And that recession could get a lot worse, a whole lot worse. And yet, the danger from the George Bush and Dick Cheney doing nothing for the next few months is only marginally greater than the danger of them actually doing something. We're damned if they do, and we're damned if they don't. But we, as the fighting machinists, will not sit on our hands and let them extend their execrable record of attacks on working men and women of this country for 4 more years. The gravest risk to our jobs and to our freedom lies in 2 words: John McCain. They tell us he's a war hero, a straight shooter, a maverick. Well, 1 out of 3 of those statements is true. The other 2 are total fabrications. We know John McCain all too well. After September 11th, when the Congress was trying to prevent economic collapse, John McCain demanded that any relief to the airline industry be predicated on the airlines gaining concessions from their workers, our members. Yes, we know John McCain all too well. We know him as the sponsor of baseball arbitration, an opponent of Social Security and Medicare, and as an anti-labor congressman and senator whose money comes from the Business Roundtable and the National Association of Manufacturers. Sadly, we know the real John McCain. John McCain is the Bush legacy. George Prescott was Bush 1. George Walker was Bush 2 and 3. And John McCain will be Bush 4. 12 years out of the last 20 years, we have had to put up with Bush League presidents. And if John McCain wins the White House, he will make it an even score. And brothers and sisters, he will even the score. He will go after unions like ours with a chainsaw, and it'll be a massacre. That's the harsh reality we face. But that's what fighting machinists do, face up to harsh realities. There's a military recruiting ad running on U.S. television, one that makes promises to make a kid Army strong. We need to be Union strong. There is no other choice. And that's what we'll be talking about here in the days to come. I have spoken to you today about the dark days of 1941, and I have done so because I believe that the choices confronting FDR are similar to the choices we face today in our union. We know that we face powerful, determined enemies. And if they can tear this union down and turn back the clock on everything we fought for and won, they'll do it, and they'll do it in a nanosecond. Our allies, I don't think it's any secret to anyone that the labor movement is weak and it's divided. And like Britain in 1941, hanging on for dear life. If it's true what they say, that the AFL-CIO is what stands between John McCain and the White House, we're in a world of hurt. Let's face it, the AFL-CIO today is a toothless tiger, wheezing and infirm. It collects $100 million each year, yet has no reserves, none. It's like one of those old boxers who tries a comeback. He hopes nobody's going to notice that he's older and a little fatter and a whole lot slower than he was back in the day. But they do notice. How could they not? We cannot become like them. We cannot, no, we will not let this great union of ours atrophy, watch our strength ebb away, and permit our differences to split us apart. We will not mortgage the IAM's future to current cash flows, borrowing from Peter to pay Paul, as the AFL-CIO now does. We will not sweep our financial problems under the rug in the vain hope that some bank will loan us enough money to get through the year, a loan secured by future revenue, as the AFL-CIO has. We will not mortgage our headquarters building to pay off a line of credit, flip the old mortgage, and meet the financial losses due to a construction project, as the AFL-CIO has done. And we will not resort to the kinds of financial shell games that make us look good on paper, just as Enron did, and as the AFL-CIO does now. That will never happen in the IAM. You have my personal pledge on that, and you have this council's personal pledge on that. This great union of ours will take the steps necessary to protect itself and its legacy and its future. Now, some may see a rosier scenario, but I don't. I see 3 massive storm systems on the horizon, and I'm not talking about the real ones we got sitting off the coast right now. We have a deep recession that could devastate our membership, producing warn notice after warn notice. Corporate America and its lackeys are sharpening their knives to cut our throats at the bargaining table and knife us in the back during organizing drives. And this presidential campaign is a huge gamble. A couple of points separated Senators Barack Obama and John McCain over the summer. Now, with the conventions behind us, the spotlight shines on the battleground states. And states like Ohio and Michigan, and Pennsylvania, and Missouri, Virginia, and in Wisconsin, the outcome remains very much in doubt. Some hope that maybe those massive storm systems will disappear or veer away. Maybe we'll get some people in power in Washington and Ottawa who will, for a change, figure out that they work for the people of the country, not for the corporations. But tell me, are you willing to bet the union on the outcome of this election? No. To that question, my answer is no. In the end, we've got to rely on ourselves, and ourselves alone. And that's why the decisions we make this week are so important. In these times, for this union, weakness is not an option. For us, there's no place to hide, no place to run. If our corporate opponents sense for a moment that we are easy pickings, believe me, they'll come for us. Given the chance, they will reduce us to a pale, cowering shadow of what we once were. So let me ask you this. Is there anyone in here who wants to go fetal, to suck their thumb, to whimper and simper, and let the wolves of corporate America devour our future? No! I can't hear you.
No!
Is there anyone here who wants to play possum in the political season? Roll over and play dead just because this is a tough race?
No!
I still can't hear you.
No!
Is there anyone sitting here who really and truly wants to belong to the organization formerly known as the Fighting Machinists?
No!
What?
No!